Hello and welcome back to My Mom's Basement, presented by Barstool Sports, and a very special X-Men First Class recap and review edition of My Mom's Basement. It is Robbie Fox back with my fellow X-Men extraordinaire. Is that a word? X-Men extraordinaire? Clem?
I'm your X-Man, your X-Pal.
My X-Man.
Your X-Man.
That X-Pal should be our hashtag for this week. Hashtag X-Pals. We're all X-Pals here in the basement.
We're all X-Pals. I mean, you can just call me your X-Man. I was going to say it could become problematic. Again, I'm reading that there's already people that are mad about the X-Men 97, some of the, storylines that may go on in there. Ooh. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just get to it, boys, because this is the X-Men. This is a different – in the 90s, everyone just kind of lived with it. Not going to be so in the 20s. That's fine. These are my people. You're my people. Robbie, you're my person. You're my man. And I'm your X-Men.
I heard a lot of good stuff about X-Men 97 from the premiere and from the critics that got screeners. Our guy Heavy Spoilers had a tweet where he was kind of raving about it. I think a lot of people saw the first 3 episodes, and the harshest criticism I've seen is that it starts slow. Episode 1 is slow, and then the next 2 are pretty good. But I'm excited for it. I mean, the showrunner getting fired and the creator getting fired under very mysterious circumstances is strange. And it feels like maybe he's about to get canceled, but I don't know anything. So I don't know.
I said the guy's name was Bo and it's spelled B-E-A-U. This is the thing. If you're a Bo and your name is spelled B-O, cool as shit. I fucking love Bo's. I feel like if your name is Bo, you're a little fancy boy, B-E-A-U, and I disavow all Bo's. I apologize if you're a Bo listening to the podcast. If you are, fuck, that's a tough break.
I think we do have a Bo that listens to the podcast that tweets us.
I hope he has an X at the end. Does he have an X at the end? That would be sick.
I don't think he does.
Shit, I apologize, Bo. Hopefully he's not an X-Man. Hopefully he's not an X-Man, so he's not listening.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, but we are here to talk about X-Men First Class, the movie from 2011. It released June 1st, 2011 in the UK and June 3rd, 2011 in the US. June 3rd, shout out Mama Fox's birthday.
Oh, a June baby.
Yeah, and I have really good memories of seeing this movie. I saw all the X-Men movies with my brother growing up. That was kind of like our thing. We would always go to see X-Men opening day, and we went to go see this one opening day. We went home afterwards, and he was like, hey, man, I'm getting married in September. I want you to be my best man. What do you think? So I kind of associate that good memory with X-Men First Class. But it is, honestly, up there with X2 as far as my favorite X-Men movie.
Yeah, so it's been a while since I've seen this, but once I watched it, I was like, the good memories came rushing back. Again, X3, as we just discussed, if you haven't watched it yet or listened, the review is from a couple of weeks ago. It was low. It was a low point. It wasn't quite where we are with Marvel right now, but people were pretty scared and upset about it. It was one bad movie too, right? Everyone loved X2. X3 came out and they're like, oh, it's over. Fucking franchises.
Well, to be fair, it's 2 bad movies, and we're skipping over one because we don't want to talk about X-Men Origins Wolverine. That is such a steaming pile of shit that we were like, we don't even want to spend the whole podcast breaking it down. But then again, I've seen people be like, we want to see you guys break down the steaming pile of shit. So we might get bullied into doing it at some point. But for now, we were like, let's skip that. Let's get a good one out of our way.
We will not watch X-Men Origins Wolverine unless we hit 50,000 subscribers, which I do notice we're a little closer to the press bump.
We are getting close, yeah.
I'm not going to say it will happen when we do it, but like the first thing that has to be done is 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. Yeah, forgot about that. So yeah, 2 bad losses in a row in people's minds. So this kind of did just lift it back up and make everyone feel like we're on the right track. A reboot, it's like a reboot prequel. It's about as clean as you can get when you're still using the same characters, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting. It was originally meant to be like a complete franchise reboot. They went to our guy, Matthew Vaughn, who was, of course, involved in X3. He rewrote a lot of the script, was slated to direct it at one point, dropped out. But they went to him and they were like, clean slate. We'll give you the X-Men. We want it to be set in the 60s. But other than that, you can do whatever you want with them. And he was like, fuck yeah, that sounds like a great job. But it kind of got retconned into being a prequel, even though it doesn't completely follow the canon of the previous 3 movie or the trilogy. There's a few things that are slightly changed, obviously, but the idea of doing this, a prequel to the X-Men, was from Lauren Schuler Donner, Richard Donner's wife, during the production of X2. And she was very vital in bringing Kevin Feige up and making Kevin Feige the man he is today in the comic book industry. She is very underrated when it comes to overall comic book movies and what she did for the industry. But they didn't want it to fully contradict the trilogy. So they were like kind of half retconning things. They were like, we're going to retcon some things, but nothing too bad, because of course we could eventually loop this in, and they did.
I feel like there's probably a lot of that's about to happen in the future with Marvel and stuff. It's I saw.
Well, I was thinking about this already. It's the Kevin Bacon thing. Is Kevin Bacon a variant because he's in Guardians 3, the holiday special, and this?
So I had a note about this, dude. That's the same actor who plays himself, Kevin Bacon, happy-go-lucky Christmas guy, and a fucking Nazi who wants to start World War III. The most polar opposite. And it had clicked in my brain before I watched it. And then I'm just like, oh, this guy's in the MCU, and he's himself, and he's pretty fucking delightful. He's doing a rock and roll Christmas song by the end of it. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, and he's great in this. Like, he kind of has two sides of his coin, pun intended, right? Coin movie. But in the beginning, the first scene with him where he's just full on Nazi, and then later in the movie when he's almost like an 80s or 60s, I guess, but he comes off like an 80s action villain. Like, he's so over the top, and his outfits, his dialogue, and all of that. Great performance by Kevin Bacon. And like, I haven't seen Kevin Bacon. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen him in anything other than the Guardian special in a little bit. Like, this was, I don't want to call it one of his last great performances because I'm very misinformed, obviously, with his IMDb, but it's the last thing I saw him in where I was like, holy fuck, Kevin Bacon can act his ass off.
Yeah. And Kevin Bacon's one of those guys. He just seems like a likable dude. Tell me if this is odd. I feel like, and this is probably just my dumb brain thinking, but these guys that have him and Carrot Sidgwick have been together forever. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it correctly. And it just seems like a good, happy-go-lucky dude, right? It's like,
for sure,
you're just happy for them,
Yeah. So this was directed by Matthew Vaughn, as I mentioned, written by Ashley Edward Miller, Zach Stentz, Jane Goldman, and Matthew Vaughn. There's 4 writers with credits on it. I'll get into that. It was kind of rewritten a couple times. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes. The budget on this was somewhere between 140 and 160 million. That's down from 210 million on X2, which was at the time, to be fair, the most expensive movie ever made. So double that for marketing. It was probably anywhere from 280 to 320 million. It made 116 mil on opening weekend, and then total gross was 353 million. So it was a success for sure, especially coming off the heels of X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was completely shit on by critics and audiences alike. This one getting an 86 critic score and Rotten Tomatoes 87 audience score. Very good, obviously.
Yeah, very good. It was 7.4 Rotten Tomatoes, which again, we know how that goes. Now that I've realized the criteria of Rotten Tomatoes, it does feel like it should be higher, but I think you're always dealing with the superhero curve, where some people are just going to not like it, or they're going to twist it up to something.
I mean, they're close to 90 though. That's impressive on the audience, at least.
Oh, that's what truly matters. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right?
And we've mentioned it talking about the previous X-Men movies, the fact that they were able to reboot it not too long after the X-Men trilogy and do new actors playing the iconic roles of Charles Xavier, Magneto, even Mystique, and audiences didn't just revolt, really speaks to how good the movie was. They were kind of fighting an uphill battle with that, I think, but they nailed casting.
So that's what I wanted to mention is I just think the casting, they knocked it out of the park with it. And I think there were a lot of problems that could have come up if they fucked up the casting. I know going into it, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, what are we going to have here? And then you just see her oh, shit, I can see that's Professor X. I can see that's Magneto. I can see that's Mystique. And I do think we'll talk about it, I'm sure, in the future, with Mystique just becomes the main character of some of these movies. They hit a little too much of a jackpot with Jennifer Lawrence, I think. But like there was so many guys where I'm like, man, they really fucking nailed it here on this movie. So Matthew Vaughn is my savior, and it makes everything about his Deadpool comments just make me feel like. So you're watching this movie, and you know what Deadpool is and what it's kind of going to be for the MCU. Don't you feel like if there's one person you'd want to hear weigh in on a movie that could save a floundering comic franchise that, you know, and I'm not saying Deadpool, I'm saying the whole MCU with stuff that's going to be new, but also a little old, that's his fucking bag right there, right? It's like,
that's why we've elected Matthew Vaughn our GOAT, because he said he liked Deadpool 3.
It doesn't take much. You're not asking for much right now in the basement. By the way, I know this isn't a news episode. Kind of tough looks for your boy.
My boy.
The Bat doesn't want to share the same calendar year as my guy Soup over here. He's running from Clark. He's running from Clark.
He's not running from Clark. Batman, that franchise is a Halloween franchise. We're just making sure we come out in October every year. Yeah, you know, it's just nothing to see here.
We're not in the chat. Everyone in the comments, hashtag running from Clark. Let him know. Let Bobby know.
No, he ain't running from Clark. He ain't running from Clark. He's never run from Clark. Clark runs from him because he's got the kryptonite. He's got the plans. He can take down everyone. He ain't running from Clark.
Doesn't run. Superman don't run. Clark fucking flies. He's a flyer. Your guy can't even fly. Bat can't fly.
Glide.
He runs.
He again. He falls with style.
He falls with style. Don't even get me on a Buzz versus Woody thing. I'm taking this podcast in a very different direction. Woody or Buzz guy?
It's tough because, like, I'm a sci-fi guy, obviously, but personality-wise, I'm a Woody guy for sure.
Sci-fi stuff aside, Woody guy. This could have broken the Basement Boys for good because I am staunchly a Woody guy because he cares about Andy more than anything in the world. And this fucking blockhead Buzz Lightyear came in, tried to ruin everything. Absolute hardo. Absolute
hardo. Yeah. Slinky Dog hit one of those as he walked into the room. This I found crazy. And by the way, credit to the X-Men First Class Wikipedia page and the IMDb trivia page. That's where I'm getting basically all of these facts that I'll be reading off. Matthew Vaughn went through 5 cinematographers on this movie because he really wanted it to have the style of a 60s movie as well, not just look like it, but like actually be shot like a 60s movie. Sole credit is given to John Matheson, who did like 45 to 55% of the movie. They said he came in halfway through the shoot. Seemed like the shoot was kind of chaotic. There was some reshoots for the final sequence on the beach. That was originally like kind of a CGI battle between Charles and Eric. They redid all that, a lot of fist fight stuff, a lot of talking stuff, which I think works better in that context for the context of the movie, especially. But a lot of stuff was rushed. I think budget was slashed a little bit at some point. And yeah, 5 cinematographers. I think even Rose Byrne was cast as Moira really late in the process.
I think she pulls off a decent Moira for what she is in the movie, right?
I think she is. Yeah. She's been one of my favorites for a long time, to be honest. Yeah. She's like one of the Bob Fox. She's on the crush list.
She's on the crush list. Yeah. I have a very, like, the first time I saw her, took my breath away. But ever since I saw Bridesmaids, I always think she's like a bitch in real life just because her character is in that movie.
She's so funny in that.
I have such like anger in my soul for her, even though it's probably just a role she played very well. So it is a very weird thing. The cinematography, though, like this, I did like I forgot like what exact the year it is where it takes place, but then when it was the 60s, like you start in the beginning with out of the swinging side of things, and then even the kids when they're kind of just like dancing around like 60 kids would, right? And I was like, oh, this is fun. A little Austin Powers, right? There was a little Austin Powers.
I love that scene. It's such like a great like party vibe, like almost like it feels like the first week of college. A bunch of people are meeting each other. They're hanging out for the first time, forming their group, their little clique. Yeah.
Oh, there would have been some smooching going on. If they didn't showed up like an hour later, there would have been some smooches of heavy going on big time. We would have had some new mutants.
7 minutes in heaven with a mutant. Yeah. Zach Penn was originally hired to write this movie. We talked about him a bunch on our previous X-Men recaps. Again, go back and check those out. But those plans fell through. Marvel then hired Sheldon Turner to write a spinoff around the same time, just about Magneto. So he wrote a movie called Magneto about Eric trying to survive in Auschwitz and then hunting down the Nazis that were there when he was there, the guards, the officers, whatever they may have been. The writer's strike of 2007, 2008 canceled that movie. So there was another writer's strike back then, canceled plans for that. Bryan Singer then got brought in to write a draft of First Class that allegedly used a lot of stuff from that Magneto script for inspiration. Bryan Singer denied it, but he's a scumbag. And Turner was actually credited for the story. Like on Bryan Singer's draft, the WGA stepped in and was like, you have to credit this guy because it's a lot of his ideas. Singer then dropped out to go do like fucking Jack the Giant Hunter or something, some stupid movie. And Ashley, scumbag shit. Ashley Edward Miller and Zach Stentz were then hired to rewrite it. Then, when Matthew Vaughn was hired, he rewrote it again with Jane Goldman. When I hear this, it kind of, I have like two thoughts. I'm like, one, I can't believe this movie turned out as good as it did with all of this writers hot potatoing left to right. Another thought is like, when I hear reshoots are happening for this, rewrites are happening for this, maybe it's for the better. Like Daredevil, you know, they got canceled and they're revamping the whole thing. Like maybe that shouldn't be a reason to be concerned. Maybe they're just really making sure it's the right way.
When things are going, you can always see it two different ways. When things are going good, it looks good. When things are going bad, you're like, oh, fuck, it's all coming apart. You know, it's just, unfortunately, it's same with sports teams. It's like, oh, we almost drafted this guy and then we changed directions. And if it's a good team, you're like, oh, good work by the Chiefs, just getting it all done there. And then if it's the fucking one of my idiot franchises, you're like, oh, here are the Mets doing Met shit again.
The score is by Henry Jackman, who previously worked with Matthew Vaughn on Kick-Ass, which is kind of the movie that got him this job. Like they loved Kick-Ass and we're like, let's see if he wants to come back to the X-Men. The score is awesome, I think. It's based on the work of John Barry, who did a lot of 007 scores. And there's a lot of 007 inspiration laced throughout the movie. But the guitar riffs that happen, like as soon as you see, the one that comes to mind is when you see Magneto, Michael Fassbender's Magneto for the first time, when he's just twirling the coin and he throws it at the wall.
Yeah.
That guitar is such a like smooth, cool, almost like foreboding music. And I love it. I wanted to point that out.
It takes you on a good journey, the score. Like
yeah,
it goes you from A to B to C, and you don't think about it, but now that you're saying it, I'm like, yeah, that guitar and stuff like that. Yep, good call, Bob.
Then as far as comic inspirations for this movie, First Class is a comic book run that kind of inspired this, I think. They saw the title, they loved the title, but the movie doesn't really follow that storyline very closely. I think First Class involves Wolverine heavily and stuff like that. Simon Kinberg and Schuler Donner, Lauren Schuler Donner, wanted heroes that worked well together, even if they weren't teammates in the comics. So they told all the writers, like, don't really be like tied down to who was teammates with who in the comics. Just pick a group of mutants that you think would be great in an ensemble cast. They did that. They also brought back radiation being a cause of genetic mutation. That is a huge factor in the X-Men comics. So I think X-Men fans really liked that they brought that back. And then as far as other inspiration, Matthew Vaughn said Batman Begins and the 2009 Star Trek reboot were actually huge inspirations for him because they were great reboots that could stand on their own, just as a singular movie. And I like that he shouted out the Star Trek one because, you know, I'm a Star Wars guy. The biggest criticism of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek reboot is that it's like too much of a Star Wars movie, and that ain't an issue for me. So I loved it.
I can't believe I'm going to say this on the pod. I've never seen it because I kind of was defending the wars, and I can't believe my guy Bob Fox.
No, listen.
I was the king of the wars.
Stand down because it's JJ. He's the neutral Switzerland in this. Like, you could cross the barrier for JJ at this point. I'm telling you, it's worth watching. Chris Pine he's fucking great in it.
I mean, this is the thing is, again, I wasn't even a Star Wars fan growing up, but even when I became a Star Wars fan in the mid-90s, it was us against them, Bob. So, I mean, I'm just, I guess, like the old crusty guys.
Kirk Love and Spock suckers, yeah.
I was fighting them Nazis back in 43, you know.
They fought a wars for you, yeah. That's one of my favorite pizza review quotes.
Oh, unbelievable. Unfucking-believable.
You fought a war?
World War II. That's right.
Attaboy, thank you for your service.
Okay, my pleasure.
Maybe, would you say it's the best pizza review? We'll do a very brief.
Honestly, it might be. I have a like personal favorite pizza review, which is this homeless guy wanted Dave to try these hot peppers, and Dave was trying to get him to review the pizza. And they kept going back and forth, going, rate it 1 through 10, 1 through 10. And the guy was yelling at Dave, going, 1 through 10, 1 through 10, 1 through 10.
Want a bite? Sure, here you go. You gotta give me a score though, 1 through 10 after you bite it. It's hot, watch yourself. 1 through 10.
Thank you.
1 through 10. 1 through 10, what do you got? 1 through 10 though, you gotta give me that. 1 through 10, what do we got? 1 through 10 though, need to score the pizza today. 1 through 10. Well, 1 through 10, what do we got for a score? 1 through 10, what do we got for a score? Give me that 1 bite score. 1 through 10, what do we got? Hit me with it. 1 through 10, what do we got? Give it a score. 1 through 10, like figure skating. Let's go. 1 through 10. 1 through 10 score. How good would you say this pizza is? Scale of 1 to 10.
How about 1 to 10? You and me.
Oh shit, what's that? I don't want to fucking do that. What is that? I feel like that's gonna take me on a wild, strange trip.
1 to 10. Come on.
No, these peppers, dude. Come on.
1 to 10. Come on. You and me. Come
Yeah,
on.
what is this?
Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
If you are a man, 1 to 10.
So fun. Dave eats a hot pepper out of this homeless guy's backpack, burnt his face off. It's fun.
Oh, God almighty.
1 on 1. 1 to 10. Come on. 1 to 10.
I'm taking the fucking pepper. Oh shit. Hot.
Now 1 to 10.
Oh,
This is
you're
you.
fucking hot.
And this is me. All
you're
right.
fucking hot. Woo! I'm gonna rank it after you rank it. The pizza, I rank it every day. That's what I do. Woo! Woo! That pepper's a 10. The pizza, I gotta give the pizza a score. This guy's carrying around hot peppers. God knows what's going on right now. The pizza's 7.8. Strong pizza, fancy pizza. What? I gotta get water.
Yeah, get me some water, man.
That's a side tangent,
I'm so
though,
happy you brought back that photo. I'm going to watch that as soon as this is over. I'm going to go back and watch that. We should see, you know what, Bob, in the YouTube, just rip that video. We're going to put it at the end of our YouTube here. I think
Yeah.
Dave's going to sue us. Is he going to fucking,
No.
you know?
I'll throw that pizza review at the end. Yeah.
And put the peppers one in there. Put the peppers one in there, too.
The pepper. Oh, well, I thought that's the one you were talking about.
Okay.
We can't put 2 full pizza reviews at the end of our video. I think that might get us sued.
I mean, that's one way to make the base keep the lights on. We just take over One Bite and we just fucking put all Dave shit on our channel. What do you think about that, Bob? Definitely.
You know what I'll do?
Offline.
Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to intercut the moments we talked about while we were talking about them.
Good man. Good man.
Boom. The movie was shot at Oxford. They shot a little bit in the Mojave, Georgia, Los Angeles, also Pinewood Studios, where they shoot a lot of the Star Wars movies. Obviously set during the Cuban Missile Crisis, once again using real history, looping it in with politics a little bit.
I love that stuff.
X-Men.
You know, I love that, Bob. You know,
Great.
I love when the real stuff comes into the movie.
And it works well with X-Men, obviously, because of the way that there's a lot of, real life shit in X-Men movies that we talked about. Like they get political a lot. When the new X-Men movie comes out, don't say X-Men turned political.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I was reading that people are already commenting on like X-Men 97 getting upset, go woke, you're broke. And I'm like, X-Men might be the wokest shit
X-Men's
out
the
there.
wokest.
And ladies,
They're awake.
They're awake. Professor X ain't sleeping. He's just lying down because he can't walk, but he's fucking awake.
Stan Lee unable to cameo in this. They couldn't make it work for this one, so we get no Stan Lee cameo, which is a little bit of a bummer.
He said they shot it too far away. And this is my question to you. You always hear the thing like, would you drive? How far would you drive, to have sex with a girl or something like that? How far would you drive to be to make a cameo in an X-Men movie? We're talking 5 seconds or less.
As far a drive as I could make, really, I think. Like,
I would drive. I would drive to California.
Yeah, I would drive to California for sure. Like, I think back to my Abu Dhabi trip when I went to Abu Dhabi for UFC. 18-hour flight there. It was like my whole journey back took me like over 30 hours of travel nonstop. I didn't sleep in that time. It was horrendous. I always say the only thing that could get me back there is if Oasis reunited and they had their first show in Abu Dhabi. But like, if you told me I could be in a Star Wars movie for 2 seconds, I'm on that flight without even thinking about it, like immediately. So yeah, as far as I could go.
So there you have it, folks. If you're looking to cast Bob Fox in any of the movie franchises he loves, you got him. You have him.
You got me.
You
got me. I'll pay you.
Like,
yeah.
Exactly.
The X mansion in this movie is called the Englewood House in Berkshire. It's also in Match Point, The King's Speech, Great Expectations, which I've never seen, but now I always think of Into the Spider-Verse when I hear Great Expectations. Easy Virtue, the Black Mirror episode Playtest, The Crown, and Cruella. Cruella, very underrated movie. Nobody really talked about it, I feel like, but I think it was the best of the Disney live action movies.
So it's a live action 101 Dalmatians. Do they make Cruella like a sympathetic figure, like in Wicked, or not as
A
much?
little bit, yeah, but she's still she's a villain in it. It's Emma Stone, and she's great. Paul Walter Hauser, him, and he's like her bumbling henchman in the movie. It's really good.
Emma Stone, she's fucking crazy to think Jules from Superbad has become this like this award-winning monster of an actress. It's awesome. I'm a huge Emma Stone fan.
Also, the last little fun fact before we get into the meat and potatoes of this movie is that there's about 1,150 VFX shots in the movie, had to be outsourced to 6 different companies that they used to make X-Men First Class. And I got to say, the VFX in this movie, pretty good for the most part. There's a few scenes here and there, maybe when Kevin Bacon is Sebastian Shaw, which is also the name of the guy who plays Darth Vader, and it's confusing. But when he does the energy thing, when he sucks it in, some of that CGI looks a little wonky now, but other than that, a lot of the flying looks good. A lot of the stuff at the end battle looks good. Impressive, I thought.
And to be fair to that Sebastian Shaw stuff, I remember not liking it back then. So I think it's like not even that it aged poorly. I just think they couldn't find a good way to get it done, which there's times where it's like comic book to big screen. There is a lost in translation side of it. I think that was one of the moments that played out like that. I saw this on the trivia. Did you see this one? James McAvoy originally shaved his head.
Yeah, so I had that. He's like, I got cast as Professor X. Like, let's see what the wind feels like on my scalp. And they were like, well, you're gonna have hair in this movie, you know that, right? And he had to wear extensions for the first month of shooting because he was waiting for his hair to grow back. Imagine how dumb he must have felt showing up to set. Like, do you like it?
Oh, that was great.
Really funny. All right, so let's get into the movie. Once again, we open with Magneto, or Eric, being separated from his mother during the Holocaust. They did a really good job here of intercutting scenes from the first X-Men and then scenes that they reshot with a new actor playing young Magneto. So it's spliced together, and it's hard to tell what shots are from the first X-Men, what shots are reshot, but very well done. Kevin Bacon playing Sebastian Shaw, overlooking it all. And then you jump right to New York. It sets the tone right away that this is going to be the story of Charles and Eric. And you jump to a young Charles Xavier meeting Mystique. And she has, she's turned into his mom, and they do a whole thing. When she turns into like young Mystique, I gotta say it, she had little baby Grinch vibes.
Oh, that's actually a great call. Wow. Great call, Bob. Great call.
Like, there's part of me where I was just like, I know she's supposed to be like kind of like adorable in a kid way or whatever, but I don't know. I was just a little creeped out by her.
What's the viral tweet? Like, me and my friends would have beaten that bitch up with hammers. Like,
the baby Grinch.
I would have killed baby Grinch Mystique with hammers. Me and my friends, definitely. Like, she is definitely like a little creep. It's not a mutant thing. It's just she's baby Grinch.
No,
Perfect way to put it. Perfect way to put it. And
Charles is stoked to meet her. He's like, oh my God, a mutant. He read her mind. He saw through her act right away. And then you jump right back to the like harrowing nature of Shaw interrogating Eric. He's like trying to make him move this Nazi coin. He's like, move the coin. He can't do it. He's obviously trying, but he can't. Then he brings in his mother. He's like, all right, here's what we'll do. You count to 3. If you don't move the coin by then, I'll just shoot her. Of course, he counts to 3. He's not able to do it in time, shoots her. And Eric has his first rampage moment. And the way he caves those soldiers' heads in by using their helmets, metal AF. Even the first like jump cut in that scene where it's like on Kevin Bacon, on the kid, on Kevin Bacon, on the kid. And then they cut to a side shot where you see all the saws and knives and weapons they have hung on the wall in that surgery or experimentation room. And that's a fucking gut punch. That's like, oh shit. Also, Bryan Cranston turned down the role of Sebastian Shaw to be in Drive. Kevin Bacon did a great job in this movie, but the thought of Bryan Cranston playing this Nazi commander who turned supervillain, I think he would have nailed it.
Yeah, that would have been pretty fucking good for Bryan Cranston looking back. When they show the like surgery room, I'm like, all right, that seems a little kind of odd that there's a room just sitting there with like the window next to the guy's office.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, this is Nazis we're talking about. So like that could have happened. Again, my mom's
anything
basement,
could happen with the Nazis. Yeah.
Fuck Nazis. Very much fuck Nazis. Anti-Nazi podcast, pro-killing Nazi podcast. So when those guys' fucking heads just caved in, absolutely loved it. I was also like, dude, couldn't you just shot like his mom in the leg to see if that brought out the anger?
Yeah, like that would have pissed him off.
Yeah.
But
Nazis.
again, Nazis. Yeah,
fuck
Nazis. Yeah.
Fuck them.
This, and we'll get to it. I think this movie has one of the best Nazi killing scenes ever.
Yes, one of my favorite death scenes of all time. I was going to say my favorite comic death scene of all time. What do you think about this one? I'm not going to put her in the same, definitely won't put her in the same breath as Nazis. However, I forgot about this little tidbit here. I don't know if it's the case in the comics, but Charles Xavier's mom sounds like she's kind of a C word, like just a rich bitch, kind of like snobby.
Yeah,
she would never be in the kitchen. Yeah, like that. You go to the mansion and Professor X is such a cool guy. Like, oh, he must have had a nice childhood, grew up with money, but it was like the good rich people in the movies, not the evil rich people. And I'm not saying she's evil, but she seemed like she probably would have beat Mystique Baby Grinch. Literally would have.
Yeah, with a rich paddle.
Oh no, she would have like 2 claps and then like the butler had to beat up Mystique with a hammer.
Yeah. He cuts a modern day. Like I said, he's still got the coin, throws it at the wall. He's got a picture of Shaw on this wall. So, this is totally a revenge story. Once again, maybe some stuff that they took from that Magneto origin movie. And meanwhile, Charles Xavier just trying to pick up babes at the bar. He's hitting them all with his mutation talk. James McAvoy plays it so suave too. And his quote unquote sister, Raven, Mystique, played by Jennifer Lawrence, totally cock blocks him. She does the Max Scherzer eye thing, which the girl has. And she's like, oh, you have it too. And he's pissed off because he's like, you can't let people know you're a mutant and all that. But I love James McAvoy just as this kind of like womanizer Charles Xavier.
Yeah. And it is kind of weird when your pickup line is like trying to find a mutation in someone. It's like, oh, here's the eye. Later on, there's a girl with like her hair is
with her auburn hair. It's
auburn
Moira,
hair.
I think.
Oh, you're immune. Like, dude, that's just fucking creepy. However, then I'm like, how do these pickup lines all work? Do you think Charles Xavier was like fucking mind roofing them with his powers?
I hope not.
You're
accusing him of being Bill Cosby.
I hope not too. I'm just saying.
No,
you can't tell me he's picking up all these beautiful, smart young ladies at the bar.
Did you see the guy?
He's good looking and he's rich. That's the thing. He's rich. So like, I feel like you're like, all right, he's good looking. He's rich. I'll like laugh off his mutation thing. I'm telling you, at some point, if he feels it's going the wrong way, I feel like he might be using the powers. I'm not saying
put that demon thought into the sky, bro.
I don't even
can't accuse Charles Xavier that. This is your team.
This is my guy. I know, but this scene and these
He's the coach.
You know what? I take it back. I forgot about the beer drinking scene
Thank
later.
you.
He's a dude. I was out of pocket there, Bob. I was out of pocket there. But come on. The mutation thing is a weird thing to lead with. And I know that's like his thing. He probably did his thesis.
But that's quirky. That it's not like, oh, did you follow what are you 10 Tennessee? Only 10 I see. It's not like a bad pickup line. It's like, hey, mutate, and the girl immediately is like, what are you talking about? And then she's in. Boom. Charles Xavier's got
though, man. Like those girls are out of like everybody's, like even Professor X's league. I think they're out of his league. That's just me personally.
Yeah,
and listen,
they're good looking.
I'm a Professor X guy, Those girls.
You're as a Professor X guy as you are a
I'm
Nebraskan Superman guy.
I'm looking at a Magneto helmet as I say this too. It's kind of a tough look.
Professor X guy, yeah. Also, James McAvoy was gonna do like a Patrick Stewart impression in this movie, and Matthew Vaughn was like, "Don't do that." He's like, "Just like nobody's gonna care about that. Just do kind of a British accent." Also, like Moira was gonna do her Scottish accent because in the comics she's like famously Scottish. He was like, "Again, just ignore it. Nobody's gonna care." Probably good idea.
Did you care?
If he was doing an impression, no, I didn't care at all.
I didn't care either.
I mean, I didn't even notice. Like the ignorant American in me is like British is British.
I just want to understand you. That's basically my biggest thing, especially if I'm at the movie theater and I don't have closed captions. I just want to understand you at this point.
I know British isn't British though, because when I met Patty and Molly from Liverpool, it was a lot of and everything. So I was like, whoa, okay, British ain't British.
British ain't British.
Also, McAvoy and Fassbender were previously in Band of Brothers. Now, I've never seen Band of Brothers. I don't know if they have any scenes together. I don't know if they like knew each other in 2001, but I thought that was kind of interesting that like 10 years later, they're in another production together.
And it's set around World War II, you know,
another war thing,
camps, and then it goes into like the nukes that come from after it. I just watched Band of Brothers. It was after my Oppenheimer run. And I don't remember them being in the same scene. I don't even remember them being in it. Like I have to like think about the characters and all that kind of stuff. By the way, if you and for anyone who hasn't watched it, I'll say to what everyone was telling me for years, you got to watch it. Just find out some time, watch the first episode, get it in. You're never going to see Ross from Friends the same ever again. And, but it's like a fucking unbelievable watch. And you just started Shogun. You said that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just finished Ozark, which was absolutely tense. So, the boys are moving.
There's some show recommendations. Yeah,
we'll get some recommendations. We might do a little Shogun talk. I'm going to try to catch up at some point as well. So
it's cool. I'm 2 episodes in. It's really, really cool. Game of Thrones vibes. People that have said that are correct in it. I didn't know how to think about that. Like, it's not the quality of Game of Thrones, but kind of the way that they're jumping around at different factions and stuff like that. Really worth a watch. It's on Hulu, FX, stuff like that. Where are we up to here? In my notes,
we're up to
so Magneto finds a Nazi bank. I love this scene, and he kind of tricks them into giving up information about where some of the Nazis are hiding out in Argentina, of course. And he brings them like the Nazi gold at first. Totally plays a good trick, but he rips the metal fillings out of this guy's mouth. Gnarly scene. And as someone that's dealt with like the root canals, the wisdom tooth pain, stuff like that, tooth pain is the worst, all-time worst. Imagine Magneto just pulling fillings out of your mouth.
Bob, what was that? Confirmed metal as fuck.
Yeah,
it's I don't even know if the word's ironic or I think the word's just fitting. It's fitting that I think Magneto is our current
Magneto's
metal. He has the most metal moments. I mean, clearly in this movie, and by the end of this pod, I think he's going to lead the league in metal moments because there's multiple ones in this movie.
There's a bunch more.
Him doing everyday villain shit. I could have gone for like another 10 minutes of him trying to get information on people and then doing fucked up shit with whatever metal was on them, in them, or in the room. I fucking love that. Playing dentist. Well, as soon as he says metal fillings, I'm like, oh, Eric, you sick motherfucker. By the way, speaking of metal in the mouth, shout out our girl Sienna Clem. Just got her braces off. Just got her.
Oh, nice! Yesterday. That's huge.
Massive day. It's phase 1. They do 2 phases when they're young and have braces. So she might have to do phase 2 after her baby teeth come out. They have to see if the mouth will readjust. Yada yada yada. But her teeth are all banged up. Year later, looking great. Did you have braces?
No, never.
When you get them off, everything feels like your gums. It's a complete mind fuck. And she was calling everybody up, being like, "Yeah, I was supposed to get a brace off today, but I didn't get them. But look at these like Easter colors I got. Showed the teeth. Teeth were no braces on. All-time great prank. So big day for Sienna Clem. Maybe that would have been a great Magneto thing. Make people have to wear braces. Throw braces in their mouth. Tighten them up. It's the worst. I had braces for 2.5 years. The absolute pits.
Damn. Then you go to Vegas, you watch Moira spy on the Hellfire Club. Also, an idea from Richard Donner's wife, Lauren Schuler Donner. She was the one to say, I think the Hellfire Club would be cool as villains in this movie. And they really work in a 60s movie. Like later, there's a lot of stuff with the boat and the submarine, and you get a bunch of like 4 kind of like goofy looking villains together.
Yep.
And it reminded me of the 1966 Batman Adam West movie, where you have everyone on the submarine working together, like all the villains you never thought would come together like this. So yeah, that's what it kind of reminded me of. I wonder if there was anything in them that was like, we're doing a fucking submarine 60s superhero movie. Like it's been done. Adam West.
There has to be somebody on some DVD commentary said like,
yeah,
because I remember it's like the Penguin, right? Is he looking up the periscope? Like, there he is.
The Penguin, the Joker, Catwoman, and the Riddler. It's like, oh my God,
Big
everyone's
4.
together. You know, in Batman, you would only get one villain an arc. And this one, it was the Sinister Six, almost the Sinister Four of Batman.
Yeah, Hellfire Club is just cool as shit. People in the 60s, everyone just wears lingerie. That was just a thing. Like, I don't know, man. The 60s
lingerie clubs, yeah,
just seemed like a pretty fucking good time. So I'm down for it. And I'm gonna say this now. I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna get it out. At some point, I will probably say it again a little bit, but I'm just gonna get it all right now. Ready?
Yeah.
January Jones, January Jones, January Jones, January Jones, January Jones. Bob, we talked about January Jones last week. That's January Jones right there.
Yeah. She had you howling at the moon.
Hellfire Club in my pants. What?
Yeah. Emma Frost. Yeah. Really, really good casting there. Actually, wasn't the original person cast to play her, though. Alice Eve was going to play Emma Frost, replaced by January Jones. And the VFX crew said she was the hardest thing to do in the whole movie because every time they would make her translucent, nice. Every time they would do the translucent polygon effect or whatever, they were like, it would look like she was made of Jello. It was very hard to make it so she didn't look like she was made out of Jello. Also, Rose Byrne was not the first person cast to play Moira. That was Rosamund Pike, who was also considered to play Emma Frost, the girl from Gone Girl, if you don't put a face to the name. But the club you talked about, yeah, the weird lingerie club, they get that Colonel Henry, they bring him into the secret room. I love a secret room in anything ever. You move a book, the Shakespeare thing from Batman, any of that stuff. I love it. They talk about putting nukes in Turkey, obviously a big nuclear crisis thing. Riptides hits Henry with the tornado. I just wrote lame ass power when he hits him with the mini tornado and it takes like 30 seconds to even get over to him.
That is a cool power on a big scale. It is such a lame.
Yeah, in the boats when he uses it in the sea, that was cool. But like, it's almost like Aquaman. Like, we gotta be in the sea for you to be cool.
And he tries to set him up. That's just Shaw trying to build his confidence up. He's like, I'm going to give this guy. It's like you got to sometimes feed the big man, give him an open dunk. It's like he's doing all the work on defense. This guy probably is doing he's probably good with numbers. He's probably doing the Excel spreadsheets or, he's the one doing he has a friend in the Russian army that can get the nukes to launch. So it's like, just let him do his stupid power. Lame as fuck. That takes you out. You have me hook, line, and sinker. I am at this point, I'm a red-blooded male. I'm probably in my 20s. I'm watching January Jones, Girls in Lingerie, Rose Byrne, that's her name, right?
Yep.
I got the fucking mutants in there, I'm X-Men movie, and then I see this lame fucking dork do a little mini baby tornado, and that was bad. You couldn't have thought of some other way to use wind, or come on, you give him an extra power, no one's gonna be like, oh, he doesn't have that in the comic books. I don't think this guy even exists in the comic book. That was bad.
He probably exists, but yeah. You also meet Azazel here, played by Jason Ian Fleming, just a devil nightcrawler. It's kind of silly, but he kind of works in this.
Kind of silly. His transporting power is, he looks so badass. It's Mephisto. Mephisto confirmed, right? And then he just kind of is Nightcrawler. Which, did you see that? That was in the trivia that in the Marvel canon, him and Mystique are the parents of Nightcrawler, at least in one of the universes. I don't know how it works. So it's that kind of makes sense. It's his power, her looks combined. It just seems almost too lazy for it to be real.
Yeah. The war room that they cut to with the nukes is set up like Doctor Strangelove. It's a total homage to Doctor Strangelove, a classic movie that I have to admit I've never seen. I've heard it's great. Yeah. And I asked around the office recently, does it hold up? And a couple of the people that have seen it, Clemmer included, were like, Yeah, I think it would hold up. Like, it's very funny. Ken Jack said it's one of those movies you would watch and be like, oh my God, I understand where 50 references come from now. Like, it's been referenced to death, I guess.
The Simpsons, I think, always references it, and I would probably make so much more sense along with a bunch of other shit. It is one of those the bomb scene. I don't even know what it's about, but I just know I'm missing a shitload of stuff with Doctor Strange.
And then the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, Magneto goes down to Argentina to confront some of the Nazis that he grew up with in Auschwitz. And I love the exchange between them when they're, where were you from? Oh, so-and-so. What did you do? What brought you to Argentina? Oh, I'm a tailor. I've been a pig farmer my whole life. And then he goes and sits down with them when they say, where's your parents from? What are their names? They're from the same town. What are their names? Maybe we know them. He says they don't have names. They were taken away by a pig farmer and a tailor. And then immediately, he makes the bartender shoot the tailor. He kills the pig farmer, shoots him as well after stabbing him in the hand. He says he's Frankenstein's monster just looking for his creator. An all-time scene in the franchise, almost like a movie making scene. Like, you see this and you're like, that was worth the price of my ticket.
A little like Tarantino in there. A little Tarantino.
Oh,
right?
Totally. And he's in Inglourious Bastards as well as a person fighting Nazis.
Maybe that's how it like triggered into my head. What is it, blood or honor? Which one do you want to like lose first or give up first? Metal. So fucking good. Magneto. So good.
Shaw reveals his powers on the boat with Hendry. In that scene, we said the CGI is wonky. He could absorb the energy, keeps him young, whatever. I love the keeps him young line. They're like, we didn't want to do the fucking makeup. I know it's 20 years later. He's just Kevin Bacon, man.
Were you like me when you're like, wait a minute, I forgot how old he looked back when he was in like the concentration. So I was definitely like doing mental gymnastics. And then I'm like, oh, that one line of dialogue, you just solved all my problems.
Yeah, they skip over that. I love the Xavier Mystique scene, their magic trick mutant reveal to the government in front of our good old pal from The Bear, Oliver Platt. He's in Fargo. He's in The Bear, plays a CIA agent in this movie. Great actor, one of those guys where he shows up and you're like, all right, I like the cut of this guy's jib. I like his vibe.
Fargo, right? I believe he's in season 1 of Fargo as well. You can't go. I never really knew much about him. And then ever since The Bear, I'm like, that's my guy. He's that guy. He is one of those that guy guys.
And shout out to The Bear, renewed for season 4. They will be shooting season 3 and 4 back to back, so they'll be ripping those seasons out just like they did 1 and 2. I love it.
And I think it's going to end after. I think they're like not looking for anything long, so I think it's done after 4. Which
I heard that season 5 is being considered already.
Oh, geez!
Not greenlit, but being considered before 3 even airs an episode. They're like, maybe we'll do 5. Eric sneaks onto Shaw's boat to kill him. Emma Frost prevents it. Emma Frost has some telekinetic powers as well, very powerful herself. Magneto uses the anchor to rip the entire ship apart. Huge action sequence, one where the CGI holds up really well. Then they escape via submarine. Reminded me a little bit of, you referenced Austin Powers before, when like the Dr. Evil submarine comes down and it's like him like that. And
yes,
they get away. Charles saves Eric, and that's kind of like, where they meet for the first time and they start their relationship there. Great action scene though. The first like big action scene in the movie, other than the shootouts and stuff like that with the Nazis.
Yeah, Magneto just looking to, he's so focused on killing, and he's not thinking like he might be killing himself by just tracking them. And underwater magnetic jet skiing is essentially what
he's trying to pull it back. Yeah. Then we meet Nicholas Hoult as Hank McCoy. I wrote Han McCoy. I forgot the K. Han McCoy, like he's Han Solo. Hank McCoy / Beast, but he's not yet Beast. He just has hands for feet. It's like a half beast right now. He's like just a little weird, and he's jumping around with his hands for feet. Taylor Lautner, originally considered to play Beast, couldn't make it work with his scheduling. Then they hired Broadway actor Benjamin Walker to play Beast, but he dropped out to be in some Broadway show called Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson. That's what you get when you hire a Broadway actor. They're going to go leave you for Broadway. Then they even cast Lucas Till, who plays Havoc in this movie, as Beast, but I guess he didn't want to do the makeup. So they were like, all right, we'll repurpose you. We'll slot you here. And Nicholas Hoult got the job as Beast, who obviously now we're anticipating to play Lex Luthor in James Gunn's Superman movie.
And I liked him as Beast too, so I'm happy he ended up getting that role over all these other, especially the fucking drama boy over there that had to do his play instead of being an X-Men movie. Go fuck yourself. I didn't really like the Havoc guy. I'll be honest, I didn't even like the Havoc guy either.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was great. He's okay.
He plays the role of the asshole Summers brother fine, which I'm fine with, but
that's another comic timeline change. That Alexander Summers is supposed to be Cyclops' younger brother. Obviously, the timelines don't add up in this.
Yeah, exactly.
The Magneto helmet is actually introduced by Shaw, and I like that. I like that it's not something Magneto came up with. It's something Shaw. Yeah, you got it right there. Don't break it. And it was made for him by the Russians. And did they call the Russians the Ruskies back then? Was that one of the names for them?
I've thrown Ruski around a few times.
I was surprised they didn't drop that in this movie. Like, as I was watching, I was expecting a Ruski to be thrown out.
At least one Ruski would have been nice. Or Kami. A Kami would have been good.
Yeah.
Since they were very much communist with the Soviet Union. Come on. Like, talk like real people. That's taking me out of the movie now. Like, I'm going to drop this in full letter grade.
I was going to say, speaking of real people, there was some real romance on this set. In the movie, Mystique and Hank McCoy spark up a romance. In real life, Jennifer Lawrence and Nicholas Hoult started dating, and they weren't the only couple to form from this cast. Not James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender and Zoe Kravitz started dating during production.
I did not know that. Interesting little.
Yeah, Zoe Kravitz plays Angel, who we'll meet in a second in that montage. You meet Angel, you meet Darwin, you meet Havoc, you meet Banshee, you meet the whole team. Great montage. I mean, we could get right into it. The montage is amazing because it ends with one of the greatest cameos in Marvel history. Charles and Eric going in to try to recruit Wolverine, and they walk up to him. He gives them a simple "go fuck yourself," and they walk right out. It's a brief cameo. It was an improv by Hugh Jackman. They did 7 or 8 takes of him saying "fuck off," and then on like the 9th take, he gave him a "go fuck yourself," and they had such a genuine reaction. That's the one they used in the movie.
Awesome. The whole montage. This movie has like 5 different sections of it that I'm like, oh, it's all from this movie. I thought these were in other parts. There's so many different, this montage when the kids get together, obviously the early stuff with the Nazi stuff, and then the Shaw stuff at the end. I thought some of this was going to be in Days of Futures Past. I'm like, oh, that's all in this movie. This covers a lot. Our boy Matt Vaughn, he packs the fucking punch in. That's what he does. Our goat.
I like when Eric goes to leave. When he gets the information he needs from the CIA, he's like ready to go, just find Shaw. Charles talks him out of it, and then they kind of unite on the issue of not letting the CIA get involved in Cerebro, which was built by Hank McCoy, like getting the origin of Cerebro as well in this movie.
Did you see Cyclops in there playing with like the baseball or whatever? Yeah.
He's got the glasses on. And Cyclops and Rogue.
Yeah.
Or Storm. Storm, you see.
Yep.
Not Rogue, with the white hair. Yeah. I love the like I said, the college new friends energy they get when they're picking code names and showing off their powers to each other. Professor X and Magneto being assigned their names as they're so disappointed is funny. They're like, oh, Jennifer Lawrence, I want to call you Magneto, you Professor X. And they're like, clean this shit up. What the fuck? Like it's like Dave when he gets mad at The Office. They had that energy where they were like, what are we doing around here?
You should be named El Presidente because you're the president of the company. Now that being how they get their names, I don't hate it like I hate it in Solo, right?
Yeah, but it's a little cheesy.
Funny. It's a little cheesy looking back now. I don't think I even thought about it when it happened in the movie, but now that we've lived in this completely different world, every single line has to be picked apart. I feel like this would have gotten like ripped apart if it happened in 2024.
Well, a scene that's coming up very briefly actually is ripped apart from this movie. Little tease. We'll get to that. A scene from this movie has become a total meme.
Yes, I love that meme, by the way. I realized.
Oh, well, actually, I think we're thinking of a different meme. There's 2 memes from this.
Double memeage. When fucking Emma Frost turns her finger into diamond and cuts the fucking ice off of an iceberg, baller fucking move. It's one of my favorite scenes of all the X-Men. It's just like you think she's just outside somewhere, and you're like, yep, they just fucking submarine in the middle of nowhere in the North Pole. Got fucking Santa Claus in the background, penguins doing fucking thing. You got Rudolph flying in the air. Awesome scene.
I also love her scene where she gets the general to like agree to a bunch of shit by obviously like playing mind games with him, making him think that he's like about to have sex with her. And she's really just projecting herself and she's just bored on the couch. Charles and Eric burst in. Charles being able to hide everyone in the back of the van using his mind was a great like trick. Also Eric murdering the guards with the coils of barbed wire. Fucking metal again, brutal, gnarly. And they basically see Shaw's perfect future by looking into Emma Frost's mind, and it's kill all humans with nuclear war. The mutants will survive because the radiation will not affect them as much, make them stronger, whatever. And he's like, oh fuck, we're in trouble. This guy Shaw is a problem. Shaw then attacks the CIA base. This is the scene that has kind of become a meme that I was talking about, that's ripped apart by the comic community, mainly the X-Men diehards. Azazel comes in, kills a bunch of CIA agents, including our pal from the Bear, by just dropping them from the sky. It's kind of crazy. They have that great shot, like the ET shot of them on the moon, and then drops them. And Shaw looks at this is a crazy. Shaw looks at Darwin when he says the word enslaved, and they pause on that.
That was fucked.
Like, that's fucked. That's wild. Angel and Darwin go with Shaw, but Darwin is actually hatching a plan with Havoc that fails miserably, and they kill Darwin. This is the scene that's memed and tweeted over and over again as they killed the only unkillable X-Men. Like, people hate this, that you took the one X-Men that adapts to survival. That's his mutant power. In every comic, like, I think he's even like turned himself into code to survive, and his brain is in a computer at some point. They introduce him by being like, I can't die. And then Kevin Bacon comes in and kills him.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing. I've never seen the memeing and all that kind of shit. It is like ridiculous though. It's like, you're not too good at your superpower. Now, if you want to say he didn't have time to really harness his power, but I mean, one little fucking Havoc ball of energy wrapped up tightly.
The only thing he got to do is he stuck his head in a fish tank. That's the only thing they let him do this movie.
They're like, everyone else, all the other guys people know, even Havoc people know from X Factor. Like, fucking Darwin, see you later, dude. And
they're like, you're lucky to even be in the movie, Darwin.
lame-o fucking for superhuman, super hero.
A random note I have, just Shaw gets a fit and a half off when he goes to Moscow, when he's wearing
yeah.
Oh my god, dude, I was like, this guy.
Same. I didn't put in the notes, but I go, ooh, look at that. Who killed him? I brought back Tyrio from like 15 years ago. I didn't know that meme still lived in my head. But man, he fucking pulled the shit off of that.
That looked good. I want to go to Moscow one day just to get a fit off like that, a fur coat like that.
Yeah, because you could go over the top and you're wearing like the little hat or whatever and too much fur. No. Less is more when it comes to that. And our boy Sebastian Shaw had it in spades.
We get a quick scene of a young Stryker, and then a great montage of Charles just being a leader and kind of teaching everyone to hone in on their powers, teaching them how to even adapt and survive as a mutant. And very comic booky transitions in this. There's kind of the panels going in and out, showing people multiple times. I love that shit when you do comic booky stuff like that. Raven and Hank contemplate taking the serum that'll make your mutant powers go down for a little bit. And Mystique says, mutant and proud. She stays strong. She's like, I don't think we should be doing this. He says, in a completely out-of-pocket line, that she'll never be deemed beautiful. And he's like, basically, I only like you when you're Jennifer Lawrence.
Hank breaking Jennifer Lawrence's heart means he's not a genius. He's not even a smart guy. He's a fucking moron who just had ugly feet. That's all he had. He had a couple of big feet, which, let's be honest, when you're a mixed company, you're usually wearing at least socks, if not shoes. Now, if you have big feet, you have big feet. The one thing about big feet is there's only one thing that goes along if you have big feet. If you have a big dick. So it's like the worst thing is people saying that guy probably has a big dick. Yet this moron completely blows it with Jennifer Lawrence. So I'm not even going to say Mystique. It's Jennifer fucking Lawrence in this movie because he had big feet. Moron. moron. I don't care
Yeah.
if he built the fucking X-Wing or he did all this other shit. He built a fucking
The
little
X-Wing.
cure. He built a cure. He completely fucked it too. Yeah, the X-Wing.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. By the way, I was gonna say this. I'm on no dinner right now, so this isn't as bad as the no coffee, but I'm on no dinner, so that's the first.
I am too.
I've
I'm
had.
with you though. We're on hunger strike.
We're on hunger strike right now. But I was so angry with this young man, and I know you're young, you're stupid, whatever. But when fucking Jennifer Lawrence is like, turn around, you don't be like, you're not beautiful right now. What are you talking right now? You fucking what
That
an
was
idiot. What a
that
fucking
line
idiot.
was almost like that line came off like he was upset that she didn't want to take the serum that he worked so hard on. So he kind of like snapped like that. You didn't have to say that. She was like mutant and proud. I want to be myself. And you got mad at her for it. That's like one of the few missteps from Hank McCoy, to be honest. He doesn't have a lot.
That and he completely reversed his fucking serum.
Boy,
here, so.
huge mistake. And he injects himself with it. Yeah, works for a second, and then it turns him into Beast. Also, Beast's fur made out of Arctic fox fur. Not in the first scene. Obviously, that's CGI when you see his foot in his hands. But later on, when he's got the fur on his face. Also, I think that could have been done better. When he's got the fur on his face, he looks a little goofy.
The thing is, that probably was like $100,000 of the budget. I don't think you needed to go with Arctic fox fur. You could have probably found another way to make it perfectly fine. But yeah, fuck this boss.
He almost looked like you remember the little boy from Land of the Lost? This is a reference that nobody's gonna get. Like the monkey boy.
Yes, that's a great line. Great. I hated that little
him.
fucking kid too, man. You're nailing the little with the Grinch stuff and then the Land of the Lost kid.
Land of the Lost was 60s, right? I'm kind of making a 60s comparison here.
I think the one I watched was an 80s.
Might have been 70s.
But there was a 60s one as well. I think the one I watched was the reboot. Also, that
Stacks. That was one of Mama Fox's favorite shows, so she passed that one down.
Land of the Lost, great song.
Yeah,
great song.
good
1974. Theme. So maybe that was. All
right, that makes sense. I think my mom would be like 8 in 74, so that would make sense to be one.
That's Land of the Lost prime age to watch.
Yeah,
I think I watched it when I was probably 8 years old as well. The montage scene. I love Charles kind of being the nurturing parent, and Magneto's kind of the like. I don't want to say that he's the tough one who's challenging them. He just pushes Banshee like
he pushes. He's like, "Come on, you were thinking it."
Yeah, dude, that was so fucking funny. He's also,
and that's a great scene when Banshee flies for the first time. Like the score really works there. You almost get like we're gonna do this. We're a fucking team.
And I'll be honest, out of all of the X-Men or whatever you want to call them at this point, all the kids, Banshee was like, his character was annoying enough. I'm like, yeah, just push his ass. Like, Havoc was number 2 on that list, don't get me wrong. But Banshee was definitely one. Like, if that kid dies, he dies. Who gives a fuck?
If he dies, he dies. I love the scene where Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy are talking over a couple drinks, and Fassbender just rattles off a couple fucking all-time Magneto lines, one after another. The fear will lead to hatred. When he's trying to warn them about the humans turning on the mutants, he has this line at the end where he says, peace was never an option. That one like gave me chills when he said it. The delivery was so good. I was like, fuck, this guy, how do you not understand what he's saying? The whole movie, it's like, he's attacking fucking Nazis. He's afraid that the people are going to come after the mutants. Guess what? In the later movies, he's going to be proven right in a lot of ways. The people are coming after the mutants.
There's a lot of times Magneto was right. Hashtag Magneto was right. Charles has his moments too, but Magneto was definitely right about a lot. I tried to do my Sir Ian McKellen, what's the line he said again?
The peace was never an option.
Peace was never an option, Charles, and it's not that good.
Not bad. That's not bad though.
When I was saying it out loud during the movie, and I was doing my different impersonation, and I sounded a lot like Patrick Stewart, which was the problem. Like you can't sound like Professor X when you're doing Magneto lines. So tough break for me. Then
we get the meme that I assume the meme you were talking about before, the meme you love. I said the real Raven. It's the perfection. Great meme as well. Also, he was being a cockblock the whole movie. The first time they went to kiss, he was sticking his head in there. He was just kind of a miserable guy, which, again, understandable. I get it. He was miserable for a reason.
Yep. And you definitely know, we get the vibes when you see Magneto later in the first movies with Mystique. It's like, yep, there was probably a relationship there, probably a few crazy nights and whatever. And it all goes back to then. it also is kind of creepy. I'm like, wait a minute. And then I'm like, when he says you're too young, I'm like, shit, how old is she supposed to be in this movie? Because this feels very weird now.
Yeah. I love the X-Men suits in this movie. First time they went with the blue and yellow on the big screen, obviously. They didn't go with like the brightest blue and yellow, but they went pretty bright. Like, I think brighter than most comic book movies were going at the time. And I remember appreciating that the second I saw it in the trailers or whatever. Like, oh my God, they're doing the real suits. That's like the sort of thing that the general audience probably won't care about, but that could make a comic book fan buy tickets to go see it.
I imagine the discourse after the first 3 movies with all the black suits and kind of just no life. And I also appreciate, like, you see the yellow and the blue, and I imagine you'll be thinking, like, what the fuck? And he's like, hey, if you can, like, live through a G-force or whatever, then you can complain about it. Because it is kind of like those outfits in real life are ridiculous, but they look good in a comic book, right? So I appreciate,
and them setting it in the 60s helps too, because it kind of looks like that. Like, I think is it Fallout has that, like, the Nuke Boy or whatever is their logo, and he's wearing like a blue and yellow suit, kind of like the X-Men suit.
Yep.
I like the final action sequence. They obviously get a little crazy with it, but I think it's pretty great, pretty well done, especially for them having to reshoot a bunch of stuff. Magneto lifting the submarine just fucking rules. I like Beast versus Azazel, them matching up, match up the hero and villain that are kind of parallels of one another. The Beast, the weird looking guy, the blue, the red. And there's a lot of, like I said, fist to fist combat, not a lot of big power combat. It's a lot of like fights, him and, Eric and Shaw in the fucking little enclosure, all stuff like that. Very well done in keeping the emotional weight of the movie throughout the third act.
Yeah, the way everyone kind of pairs off, it works pretty well. There's a couple I did not love Angel in general in this movie.
Yeah, she's weak. She's weak for sure.
Weak. The spitting is kind of weird. The wings creep me out. I think it's like the fly wings just creep me out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't like the fly wings either.
Tornado guy, absolute stinker, just stinks.
Lame.
All sides of things. Emma, we never get Emma Frost just doing really cool shit at all. She just disappears basically for the rest of the movie, which stinks for many reasons. But yeah, the whole back and forth. Also, that how Charles stops the Russians from going through the line by shooting a missile at the nuclear warhead boat, which is a banana move in general, but nonetheless gets the results. The poor Russian bastard who, like, they think he lost his mind. That dude probably got just a fucking gun to the head, just dead, just murdered. That poor guy. I felt so bad.
There's no explaining that.
Yeah, no explaining that. And also, Sebastian Shaw, you can't just say, I'm sorry for what I did to you. When you're what you did to him was you had him in a concentration camp and you killed his mom. Like, that's 2 fucking big no's. So, like, you can't just be like, I'm sorry. You have to, like, try to go with some sort of things. And again, following orders, Magneto doesn't want to hear that. And I like that moment. There's very cool moments, like when he takes all the missiles and he throws them back, where he's like, I've been, people following orders their whole lives. You just realize how fucked up human beings are. And you're like, yeah. Mutants are kind of like that's my favorite thing about the X-Men in general, for all the X-Men stuff, is you kind of see both sides for Xavier and for Magneto. They're both not right 100%, but they're both not wrong 100% either. There's grays. Yeah.
And I love the death of Sebastian Shaw. Like, so satisfying with the coin just slowly going through the forehead and counting a 3 and everything. That was, I think at one point, a dozen question I got wrong, so it'll haunt me forever. Like, I don't know if it was with you. There was a comic book category. I think I was playing someone that was also well-versed in comics. And Jeff said, like, how does Magneto kill Sebastian Shaw at the end of First Class? And I was like, doesn't he, like, put something through him? But I couldn't remember it was the coin. And now I'll never forget it was the coin.
I've never forgotten. That's one of my, I think this is my favorite death. The coin through the head is my favorite death scene in any comic book movie ever, because it's killing pure evil with pure evil, the fucking coin, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that it's just coin. Like so basic, it's slow motion of like instead of a gunshot through the head, it's slow motion, and it just comes out red on the other side. Just some blood, nothing too graphic, and it just falls. He falls. Oh, and then he takes him up and he has him almost like crucified when he leaves. It's fucking, that is Mwah, the fucking
Cinema.
origin of Magneto. Exactly. Show that to
Cinema.
Scorsese. He'll be fucking
Yeah.
pissing his pants even more than usual when he sees that.
Scorsese, cinema meme. This is cinema. Then an unforgettable scene follows it up where Charles catches a bullet to the spine, paralyzing him. And it's off of an Eric deflection. Such a fucking good origin. Such an amazing Magneto's the reason Charles is paralyzed. Their breakup on the beach when he's looking at Moira. This is all your fault. And Charles is like, this is all your fault. What the fuck are you talking about? That is an amazing split that honestly sets up for like the greatest rivalry in comics other than Batman and the Joker. And you get it after that. You're like, I understand why they each went their separate ways. It makes sense. The finale that they shot on the beach was shot in December, by the way. There were no onlookers because of this. It was so fucking cold. And it was so cold that all the palm trees died. So they had to bring in space heaters for them and paint the dead leaves of the palm trees green. So a lot of the palm trees you see in the background are dead, but they're painted bright green to look like they're alive and well.
There had to be an easier way to do that. Like, come on, guys, what are we gonna do? I saw that. I was like, come on, what is going on here right now? And yeah, greatest rivalry in comic book history other than Superman and Lex Luthor. You're 100% right, Bob. I also loved I loved when Charles was like, no, it's your fault, Eric. And it's like, are you just saying that because you're trying to get with Moira right now? Because like
he's still like that amber hair, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I got my chance with a mutant over there, and her only mutation, she got auburn hair. Like Charles, even when Charles was talking to Mystique, he's like, put some clothes on. And I understand why he's saying that, but at the same point, I understand why she takes offense to it. And I'm like, Charles, like, do you just like mutants if it's just auburn hair? Is that your kind of thing there? So I feel like I'm going on an anti-Charles path right now. But when that happens, I remember the movie theater just was like, hush. And it was like, that's a hell of a way to be the origin for Charles being stuck in the wheelchair forever. And you're like, all right, we're going to fucking roll with this. This was a great way to reboot the franchise, and it feels like there's real progress being made. So that was like an oh fuck moment. And I'm going to be interested to see what we get with that from, the future X-Men movie, if they're going to dive into. I kind of wish that they had Xavier and Magneto together more and younger, you know what I mean? Where they really had spent years and years together. But I guess I'm just excited about the X-Men in the future.
And when he takes the bullet to the spine, I feel like you probably know where they're going right away.
Yeah.
But James McAvoy's delivery of I can't feel my legs is so good that like you're like, oh fuck, it's setting in. Like it's for real. This is how it happened. Yeah. And then they have that ending scene. The CIA is no place for a woman. There's the disturbance. It's Magneto breaking Emma Frost out of prison. There's the little thing between Moira and Charles Xavier where she's like, I don't remember. I just remember palm trees, a beach, a kiss. And you set up this new universe. IMDb says there was a body count of 74 in the movie. I don't know if that was true, but maybe 74 people died in this. I thought that was worth mentioning.
That boat took a fucking hit, right? There's a good amount of people on that boat. Those fucking CIA agents.
Tally that up? You know, how many people were on the boat? We don't know how many workers. It's like how many people were on the Death Star working on the sanitation.
Some nerd was like, what were the average amount of workers if you were transporting nuclear warheads? They might have went to the actual ship that was transporting nuclear warheads, and if they had like a crew count, they're like, all right, the CIA, they lose a bunch of people, right? So that's a
bunch by Azazel, yeah, dropping from the sky.
How about that one guy? He's like, leave us normal people alone. The mutes are behind the door.
That's crazy.
That was fucked.
He deserved to die. Yeah,
definitely deserved to die. So 74, I thought was like high, but then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it might be about right. We lost fucking Darwin, that fucking jerk.
Yeah. And then the credit sequence, another one where like it's very 007, the actual credits. I was watching that like, all right, yeah, they once again used that influence. Another just note that I forgot to mention throughout the movie, you mentioned that Mystique becomes more and more of a character in these movies, but also wears less and less makeup in every movie because Jennifer Lawrence was like, this is fucking crazy. In this movie, a lot of the makeup and prosthetics that she has on are Rebecca Romijn's from the original X-Men movie. They reused them. So I thought that was kind of like a cool thing that they had them stored somewhere in a vault. I'm sure they still do. And they were able to repurpose them for a very good looking Mystique. Then you get down to like the Dark Phoenix movie. They like powdered her face blue and gave her like a couple jewels on her forehead. it got bad. But for now, you know, we're not talking about those bad movies. We're talking about a good movie today, and First Class is a great one.
Would you say this is the highest on your list for X-Men movies, or is X2 higher?
It's like 1A, 1B for me. I would say 1A, X2, and it's only 1A from a nostalgic point of view for that cast and remembering that movie as a kid. This, I think, is a better movie, to be honest. I think it's probably the best made X-Men movie.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put this one just because, again, there's so many different fun parts, and you get so much of the Magneto stuff, and you get the young kids, you have all the Nazi bullshit, the historical stuff with the cube. I think this is one for me. I think this is number one. Did you remember to do your awards today?
So I did.
Oh, Bob, let's go.
What would you like to start with? MVP, LVP?
Yeah, go MVP first.
MVP is an easy one for me. It's Magneto, Michael Fassbender. It would be between McAvoy and Fassbender, but the revenge scenes put it over the top, specifically the scene in the Argentinian bar. He makes that character so fucking good, but so understandable as a villain. Do you want to do your MVP and then we'll do LVPs?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'm realizing the reason why I think they almost, like I was saying, the next iteration X movies, you can't just have Magneto always being the big bad or such an important role because he's such an important part of these movies. But he's so fucking good at all these movies. He's such an important part of the X-Men. I think it's like LeBron James could have like always won MVP back in the day. And he just like gets sick of it. So my MVP, I'm going to go a little beaten path. We're going January Jones. I knew it. MVP.
I saw it coming a mile away.
You saw it. I'm that
I saw it with the Cerebro, bro. I was like in your mind with it. LVP is an easy one, right?
Are you with me on this? Say it on the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Riptide. Tornado guy.
Yeah.
Riptide. Yeah.
Riptide.
Sorry, I forgot his name.
I wrote it down when they said it. I go, oh, that's his fucking.
Easy.
I wrote henchmen in general, and I'm like, you know, Azazel, the devil guy. I'm like, it's kind of cool when he like kills them with different ways.
Yeah, he at least has that scene. Yeah.
And when he comes in the room, you're like, oh, this guy, we're like, this is gonna be a problem. With Riptide, I'm just like, get the fuck off of my screen right now, dude. You're taking up someone else's lines.
Havoc getting off scot-free, by the way.
Yeah, all time.
Like, any other time, he probably would have been the LV. Or like you could even put Darwin in there. I really like the actor that plays Darwin. I even like the way he like reacts to the group, and he's like, I think Darwin's my nickname. It works, like survival of fittest or whatever. But yeah, he's a nothing. He puts up a zero burger.
His one power is to not die, which he then dies.
And he just does it. So it's
bright
like,
lights
maybe
came
you're
on.
not even a mutant. Maybe you're just like a weird guy. Maybe you just had a superpower that
Just a weird dude who sticks his head in fish tanks.
And then as far as a fast food review, I hope you'll like this. I'm going with the Son of the Baconator. You reinvented it. You brought it back a couple years. It's not the Baconator. It's a little younger. It's the Son, but it's still perfect. And admission that I've made in the basement before, I can't put down a full Baconator anymore. I have to do the Son. So it is what it is. Or actually, is it the Baconator Junior, or is it the Son? Is it the Son of a Whopper and it's the Baconator Junior?
I think it's Junior. Yep. This could be a dozen question for me at some point. I've been
could be, yeah.
2 days in a row by different.
I think it is friends. Junior. I know. Well, yeah.
Son of Baconator.
It's out by now. You were a phone a friend against me. That hurt.
I just found that out today. I didn't know who I was. You don't know who they're playing against.
No, I know.
So I got a call from Ken Jack, and Ken Jack has helped ZD. He, the most infamous Get Fucked, was helping us against the Yak. I would have at least had to think about it if I saw your beautiful face on the other screen, but it was a phone call, not a face.
I was yelling. Yeah, you'll see in the dozen match, spoilers for the dozen for this just one question. I was screaming at the top of my lungs like, Clem, don't answer. It's me. It's me.
I feel terrible. I feel absolutely terrible.
It is what it is. It was a very good match. Go watch us versus Smokin, the big screaming honkers versus Smokin. That's it for X-Men.
I got mine.
Your fast food review. I'm sorry. I almost forgot.
That's all good. My fast food, it's in Wendy's as well. How about that? I'm very happy that worked out. Mine is the current Wendy's Biggie meal. So if you go to Wendy's, you get the little $5 Biggie. Have you ever gotten this?
No.
it's crazy. Your order, you're going Baconators and Son of Baconators. This little scrawny thing. Big old Clem here. I go with the Wendy's $5 biggie meal. And what you get is I'll do the double stack. So you get your little double stack. You get a 4-piece nuggets. You get a little fries, and you get a drink. It has
for $5.
For $5. $5. This is a Wendy's commercial.
That's
Wendy's
unreal price.
Sponsor the show. It might be $6 now if you go double stack. $5 for if you do like a
$7. $7 would be a good price.
It's tremendous, Bob. It takes you back to a simpler time, just like this X-Men movie does. And it has everything you want. It has action. It has drama. It has killing Nazis. It has everything. It's perfect. So it's the Wendy's biggie meal for me. And again, back in the day, they had the Wendy's, the yellow fries. And I'm sure you didn't live through these times, Bob. It was as magical as everyone says. It was perfect.
I remember the yellow fries,
yellow
cartons.
drinks.
I lived through that for sure. Yeah.
Oh, Biggie Size was a beautiful thing. And that jerk from fucking Super Size Me ruined it for everybody. It was all bullshit too. Did you hear about that?
It was. Yeah. He was eating unhealthy. He was on drugs. He's drinking.
And America suffers.
Horrible.
For it.
America does suffer. The reason why supersized meals existed in the first place, you remember?
Jurassic Park. Dun, dun,
of course we do.
Dun. Come on, Jeff D. Lowe, give me that question. People think we get easy questions on fucking ZD. We might.
All right. That was X-Men First Class in our series to recap a bunch of the X-Men movies. I don't say all of the X-Men movies, but I say a bunch of the X-Men movies in the lead up to Deadpool and Wolverine this July. I'm very excited for Deadpool and Wolverine. These movies, recapping them, are just making me more excited because I'm like, who are we going to see from these? Who was it today? James Marsden just said today, he's like, oh yeah, I was filming Sonic 3 right next to the studio where they were filming Deadpool and Wolverine. Kind of hinted towards I'm coming back. So get excited. Once again, hashtag XPals is our hashtag for this week. If you made it to the end, hashtag XPals, and let us know where you would rank First Class as far as, all of the X-Men movies. We have it towards the top, if not at the top. So it's high up there because of our king, Matthew Vaughn.
And by this time next week, we'll have X-Men 97 back in our lives. So we'll have some fresh material to discuss, along with at some point we have. So what would you say left? We have definitely Days of Futures Past.
Yep.
Definitely have Logan.
Maybe we could loop in a little bit about Origins and The Wolverine, the two Wolverine solo movies.
Yeah.
I don't want to do fucking Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse.
I refuse. I simply refuse to do either of those, Bob. I refuse.
They would be miserable podcasts, guys.
Not only would I quit this show if I had to do them, I would quit Barstool Sports. I would quit on the spot.
Hey, but you know what? Today, as this is coming out, Friday, March 15th, Madam Web is out digitally. So there is something in me that's like, I know I said I was banning them in theaters. I was rebuking them in theaters, but I also admitted when it comes out on digital, I might pop an edible and watch it. That might be something I do this weekend.
I saw the clips. You sent me the clips on Twitter of some of the awful stuff.
Yeah.
And it is so bad. It's great. And
it's so bad it's good. It really is.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't want to spend $15 on it. And then I'm, get to the theater. I don't get that much free time as it is with kids. And then I'm watching a terrible movie. But you throw it on in the background, you just laugh at it, pointing and laughing. I could definitely do that. So do you know what that's coming out on?
I think all rental service where you could rent movies.
Got you.
So it'll come out on digital tomorrow. Also today, as we're recording this, March 14th, Star Wars Battlefront: The Classic Collection has dropped. Unfortunately, it's dropped to a bunch of negative press and reviews because the online isn't really working, which sucks. I'm staying optimistic that they'll boot up, better servers and get that working. There's a big part of me that's also like, I want to play the instant action against the computer. Like, you could set up massive, extra, they call them XL matches where you're on Hoth with against 60 computers and you got 60 people on your team. There's enough good stuff in there where the online would be a major plus and a major bonus. But I've been playing Battlefront without the online for 15 years. So I'm still very excited about it. I'll get into it tonight.
I'm happy for you, Bob. I'm happy for all the nerds. And if I get into Battlefront, I'm going to wait till everything's up and running. You tell me, it's clear. So you're going to have to be my protocol droid who lets me know everything's good.
Yeah.
Or no, one of those.
I'll let you know the odds of the servers being up. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hashtag XPals, and we'll see you next week to talk about X-Men 97 and some nerd news.